Hola, mi amigos. Yo soy St.Christopher. This is the Writer's Block, and this is a book review show where I tell you if a book is good enough where I would recommend it to a friend or so bad that I would chop it in half with an axe. Today on the Writer's Block, Looking for Alaska by John Green. This book does everything right, but there's something about it that irks me. It is a young adult novel. By definition, it is not for me. And so I criticize this book with a grain of salt, knowing that I am not the target audience. It would be too impractical, like me walking into a child's bookstore and yelling at the workers because they don't have anything that I want. Thomas the Tank! Why would I want to read about a talking tank engine, you moron? At a certain point, you have to understand not everything is written for you. And so I'm going to try and objectively judge this book for the audience that it is written for. The novel is extraordinarily written. It is easy to get through. If you're a fast reader, more than likely you can do this in a day. If you're a slow reader, it took me about a week. The chapter lengths are nice and easy. Some of them break down to half a page. A beautiful style that he does with these chapters is they are not labeled 1, 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4. They are counting down to an event 136 days before, 128 days before, and the event is unknown. Although the book is called Looking for Alaska, and there is a character in this book called Alaska, so chances are, and I don't think I'm spoiling anything, that they have to go looking, either metaphorically or literally, for Alaska. Then, halfway through the book, it has a beautiful little stylistic, thick, gray page with only one word on it, after. Then after that page, we start going the other way. 1 day after the event, 2 days after, 6 days after. The novel is about a boy who goes off to school. It starts off with his mom throwing him a going away party. Only 2 people show up because he's a loser. He goes off to school, makes friends with the misfits, and then hijinks ensue. There's a lot of cliche tropes that get played with very nicely. There's a class about religion, and we use that class to study the big questions we all have. The use of good literary devices in this novel is fantastic. There is a French test that the main character, Pudge or Miles, has to take. They ask him, what does the rose in The Little Prince mean? And he hasn't read the book, and so he just guesses. And he puts down his answer, the rose represents love. This is very good writing because it is the writer subtly letting us know without just outright telling us that when our main character does not understand the problem that he is facing, he will project the idea that the answer is love. It's full of good little tropes like that. But I don't like the ending. I feel like it all comes together so nicely and magically. And all these big questions gets answered by our main character writing an essay. And it seems so academic. And that's why I hate this book, is because it feels like it's written for an academic audience. It feels like people who are in high school, or it feels like people who are in college, where the answer to things is all within school. And if you never went to school, this book would be fantasy. Again, this book isn't for me, though. And I don't know why I hate on this book so much, but it's just something about it irks me. It's well written. It's well paced. It's like a nice guy, though. It's like you go on a date and the person is just this great person. They open the door for you. Their conversation is nice, but there's just not that spark. There is just not that oomph that makes you go, oh, I gotta see this person again. You're just like, oh, well, that was nice. Do you want to see him again? I'm indifferent to this book, but it's not for me. This is what I would say. If you are under the age of 17 and you are looking for a quick read, maybe you want to dip your toe into what John Green is all about. And this can just be skimmed through, get it out of your system, never read John Green again, and be like, okay, yeah, I understand the hype, even though it's undeserved. The only problem I have with this book is, and this is the big problem, I can't pronounce this guy's name, but he says, the spirit of Holden Caulfield lives on. For those of you who do not know, Holden Caulfield is the main character out of The Catcher in the Rye. And this quote implies that this is somehow a sequel with our main characters being on equal playing ground. And that is one of the most insulting things that you can ever say about Catcher in the Rye. Catcher in the Rye is a slow, monotonous, beautiful book that gets so wild that it caused someone to walk up to John Lennon and shoot him in the face. Catcher in the Rye is a novel that has an extremely slow pace. It's monotonous, it's repetitive, and yet somehow in this boring beauty, it comes out as this grotesque butterfly and is recanting a tale. He's not telling it in the moment. And This is a family-friendly cliche. Whoever wrote that is a moron, and they deserve to be slapped in the face. But however, if you're just looking for a nice light read, oh my goodness, they're having fellatio, but I still want to read more. Like, if you're offended by that stuff, this is like a PG-13 book. Like, when I was in elementary school, we read a book called The Chrysalids, where our students had a debate over which was worse, castrating men or women. So this is not pushing any boundaries. If you want a nice, light read, this is for you. However, I'm so mad at this book that I have to chop something, and this quote on the back of the dust jacket, or whatever it's called, is enough for me. So I'm just going to chop off this book cover.